You are listening to Radio Long Island City, recorded at our studios near Hell Gate, 9 kilometers north of the Harbor Hill Moraine. And now, the Observatory. The Observatory, Saturday the 9th of August, 2025. It is 50 days after the summer solstice. It is 44 days before the fall equinox. Today is the 80th anniversary of the atomic bombing of Nagasaki. By the French Republican calendar, it is the 22nd day of Thermidor, the day of the Caprier, the caper. The sun rises today at 6 a.m. Solar noon takes place today at 1:01 p.m. The sun sets today at 8:01 p.m. Civil twilight ends at 8:31 p.m. and nautical twilight ends at 9:08 p.m. The length of daytime today is 2 minutes, 15 seconds, shorter than yesterday. The full moon arrives today at 3:55 a.m. By the reckoning of the Farmer's Almanac, this is the full sturgeon moon. The last quarter will arrive on Saturday, the 16th of August. These are the predicted tides today for Horn's Hook. In the very early morning, low tide, 4:49 a.m., 0 centimeters. In the late morning, high tide, 11:06 a.m., 1 meter 49. In the afternoon, low tide, 5:01 p.m., 15 centimeters. At night, high tide, 11:20 p.m., 1 meter 71. In our shared realm of plants and animals, the Japanese pagoda trees continue to bloom. They must be among the longest blooming trees in our urban forest. Even as they shed their flowers, new blooms arise to take their place. What a generous display. The ash trees are also making a display. The trees with female flowers have great bunches of papery, seed-bearing samaras high in their branches. Now that the samaras are turning from green to a delicate golden brown, you can see these clumps quite clearly, decorating the crowns of the trees and getting ready to drop. Commemorations. On this day in the year 1173, construction began on the campanile of the Cathedral of Pisa. That's the structure that we know today as the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It took 2 centuries to complete and began leaning during its construction. Partway up, the builders made a correction to account for the lean, but to no avail. Let us celebrate the pleasures of imperfection today. On this day in 1638, Jonas Bronck settled in the place we now call by his name, the Bronx. On this day in 1803, the American inventor Robert Fulton tested the steamboat he had built in Paris on the River Seine. It sank. He would later refine his design and launch a working steamboat on the Hudson River in 1807. Try and try again. On this day in 1930, the animated character Betty Boop made her first appearance in Max Fleischer's cartoon, Dizzy Dishes. And today is the birthday of another famous figure. On this day in 1944, Smokey the Bear was conceived by the United States Forest Service and the Wartime Advertising Council. Since then, he has spread his message of preventing wildfires in the longest-running series of public service announcements in the country. The poet Gary Snyder was inspired by the bear to write the Smokey the Bear Sutra, imagining him as a protective Buddha. He described him thus: a handsome, smoky-colored brown bear standing on his hind legs, showing that he is aroused and watchful. And his attributes, the shovel, the blue work overalls, and the wide-brimmed hat of the West, are all identified by Snyder as symbols of his protective role. Snyder continues, round-bellied to show his kind nature, and that the great earth has food enough for everyone who loves her and trusts her, trampling underfoot wasteful freeways and needless suburbs, smashing the worms of capitalism and totalitarianism. Remember Smokey the Bear today, especially as we watch the national parks be devastated by drastic, incomprehensible budget cuts. Today is the anniversary of Richard Nixon's resignation in 1974. Finally, today we mark the solemn anniversary of the atomic bombing of Nagasaki. It followed Hiroshima by just 3 days. remember those who died, and the horror of atomic warfare. And that is the Observatory, Saturday the 9th of August, 2025.